So keep on going with your silly dream by Piter on AO3. Read by Lily6645. This fic may include suicidal thoughts. That is your warning. Chapter 34. Freckles, Shorts, and Going to the Mall broke. Izuku stared at his legs in contempt. The weather was varying more into summer territory, and it was clearly going to be a hot summer. If he kept wearing the same outfit at night, he was gonna have a damn heat stroke. So here he was, in black cargo shorts with knee pads on. His legs were actually pretty muscular now. No longer were they noodles, but he could actually see the difference of his calves. No working out like vigilantism, he supposed. He had a long, deep, bright pink scar running up the entirety of his left shin. Beneath the shorts, he knew laid another scar of the same color across his thigh. They were covered in bruises and small nicks from anything like failed parkour all the way to gunshot grazes. And yet, despite it all, there were his freckles, the same freckles that dotted his body just as they did his mom before him. He tucked away the green hair they shared, hid away the eyes that were the same shade as hers. Izuku missed her, but hopefully she was happier now. He couldn't stress her out if he wasn't there. He pretended that made it easier and crept out of the window. He was starting later than usual today, closer to 1 than to 10. He had been too busy crying to get out any earlier. He jogged around, occasionally stopping a would-be mugger or fight, but nothing major. "You're wearing shorts?" "President Mike!" Izuku turned in surprise, pausing before he smacked on-duty hero with his baseball bat. "What are you doing here?" "I'm taking some of Racer's roots while he recovers." Mike pumped his fist in the air. "Now, seriously, what's with the shorts?" "It's hot." "Ah, gotcha." Mike trailed off as they walked under a flickering street lamp, pausing mid-step. "Hold up." Izuku glanced back in confusion to see the blonde eyeing his leg. The leg that Mike had literally helped patch up. Shit. "What is it?" "How'd you get that scar? Looks pretty gnarly." The comment was casual, but Mike himself was consistently looking Izuku up and down as they walked. A moment of tense quiet fell over them. At least it felt tense to Izuku. "I dropped a pair of scissors on my leg," he responded blankly. What?" "They were sharp scissors." "Oh no, a scream for help! I've gotta go, bye!" Izuku quickly scrambled, ignoring the shout of his vigilante title. "They're seriously going through with the sports festival?" Izuku furrowed his brows, looking to Uraraka. Yeah, to show UA's still strong after the USJ. They continued walking through the mall, despite neither having the money to buy anything. It just seems a little risky. Yeah, but I'm totally pumped. I mean, this could be my chance to be seen, you know? I'm sure you'll do great. Your hand to hand has been getting a lot better. And don't you say you've been working on your quirk? Yeah, well, yeah, but we don't know if I'll even make it to the end, the brunette groaned. I'm so nervous. Izuku gently bumped his shoulder against hers. I'm sure you'll make it. You're biased because we're besties. Yep. Izuku grinned at Uraraka, even as the girl shoved him mockingly. They continued walking, lapsing into a comfortable silence. So, I was thinking. Izuku turned his head towards her, but the other teen didn't look up from the floor. After the sports festival, would you want to meet some UA kids? At Izuku's nervous expression, she quickly added on, not the whole class, just Ida and Tsuyu. They're really nice and they don't care about quirks. Everyone said they had no problem with quirks. Hardly anyone ever meant it. But he didn't want to disappoint Uraraka. If you want me to, I can. I don't mind. I just don't know if they'll get along with me, and I don't want to start any issues. You won't really. I mean, they've been wanting to meet who I'm always texting. Uraraka threw an arm around his shoulder, despite Izuku being taller than her. The green-haired teen swallowed. He's run away from home to sever all his ties, and yet he had more than ever now. It was bizarre, to say the least. He had people voluntarily talking to him now? If he was stronger, he'd leave now before he did any more damage. Yeah, I'll meet them. Yes! Can we invite Shinso? You know Shinso? How? Izuku felt a small, soft smile overtake his features. Too bad he was weak. That is the end of chapter 34 of So Keep On Going With Your Silly Dream by Piter on AO3. On to the next chapter. Chapter 35. Izuku steals a toddler's All Might mask. Not clickbait! Izuku winced as the man elbowed his side. Again, for the 7th time. But it was worth it. He successfully scored a seat towards the middle of the arena, giving him a good view with no chance of making eye contact with a certain blonde also in the sports festival. He agreed to come so he could support his friends and, at Uraraka's insistence, hang out with her and her 1A friends. Izuku slouched a little further in his seat and adjusted his hood nervously. Bakugo could always find Izuku in a crowd, despite how many times he'd mocked the boy for being plain-looking. Bakugo and Endeavor's son, Shoto Todoroki, had been neck and neck the whole obstacle course. It was almost odd. To Izuku and the general public's knowledge, Todoroki had both fire and ice. So why wasn't he using any fire? It almost certainly would have given him an advantage. The crowd roared as Todoroki stepped foot in the field just seconds before Bakugo. The blonde looked pissed and ready to kill. He was screaming at the other teen, and he spoke for everyone when he said it was a good thing there weren't microphones down there. Izuku smirked slightly. Looked like he didn't need his fire anyways. The dual-haired boy, however, stared forward emotionlessly, not affected by the win even slightly. If anything, he looked bored. Tired, maybe? Izuku texted Uraraka a few congratulations messages for 14th place and sent Shinso a smiley face for qualifying. He knew the other teen wouldn't see it for a while anyways. Again, a pointed elbow jabbed into his side. Izuku felt his eye twitch, but forced himself to stay calm. There was no need to whip out the pocket knife. The man didn't mean it. Damn fat-ass kid all up in my fucking space. The freckled teen almost lost it, he'd admit. Here was this man smacking him around and then telling Izuku to get out of his bubble? He didn't really want to miss any of the next event, but if he stayed here any longer, he'd do something that he'd regret. He stood up, harshly, knocking into the man as he exited the row. He took a deep breath, storming into the near empty restroom. He supposed people were waiting until after the event was announced. Izuku splashed cold water against his face, staying leaned over the sink. He never used to be this angry. Sad, frustrated, and borderline suicidal, sure. Not angry, though. But nothing had stayed the same since he left. He wondered how his mom would look at him now. With confusion at his violent streak? Contempt, even? Or maybe she'd be who she always was, and forgiving and tender. He'd sneak into his old room, and she'd be there waiting. There would definitely be tears and bone-crushing hugs and... Dude, you good? Izuku jerked up, eyes wide and breath shallow. The bathroom was full now, and he could see a long line waiting to get in. He felt his face heating up. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize there was a line. I was totally spacing out and... no issue. I'd like to wash my hands now, though. Sorry! Izuku pushed through the line, face burning red from embarrassment. Oddly, though, it wasn't due to the heat of both the bodies surrounding him and the temperature outside. Actually, it was a little chilly. He glanced at the Jumbotron, but nothing was displayed on it. Sure, stragglers from different UA courses loitered in the center field, looking at just as confused as Izuku felt. Uh-oh! Looks like there are some technical difficulties. Present mic is cut off. A hush fell over the crowd as the speakers cut off. Izuku shoved his hands into his pockets with a small shiver, and could see others doing the same. Wasn't it supposed to be like 80 degrees out? Static filled the silence for a brief moment before it cuts off abruptly. It echoed around the stadium, heard above the nervous mutters and shouts of alarm. The ground shakes before massive columns of ice explode from the ground of the center field. A few separate spikes pierce into the bleachers and audience members. Everyone was shoving and attempting to get away the fastest. Izuku yelped as he was pushed from all sides. He could hear pros roaring over the crowd, attempting to calm them. Clearly, it wasn't working. I'm not listening to that jackass. He almost killed that little vigilante. What if I'm next? Help! Stop pushing me, elbows! I wish that ice killed you all! Jesus Christ! Everyone, stay. Shut up, Endeavor! Go melt the goddamn ice or something! Yeah, what he said! A few smaller pros rallied behind Endeavor's words, but the citizens were evidently not swayed. What he did next, Izuku wasn't proud of. Had the circumstances been any different, he wouldn't have dreamed of doing it. But desperate times call for desperate measures. He yanked an All Might mask off of a kid's head and ducked, falling back into the crowd away from Endeavor and the hysterically sobbing toddler. He broke off the pieces meant to be the number one hero's hair and put on the hard, cheap plastic. He fastened his hoodie drawstrings as far as they'd go before triple knotting it. He kept one hand on the pocket knife hidden next to his phone as he slowly scanned the arena. He shoved the plastic hair into his hoodie pocket, in case he could find a way to use it. Originally, he'd assumed maybe Todoroki had a villain arc and blew up the stadium with ice. Not that Izuku would blame him. Endeavor was a dickhead. He'd hate to have all that as a father, too. However, the ice was tinted deep purple and reds, and was far more jagged than Todoroki's seemed to be, based on how they were present in the obstacle course. Oh, and the fact that the ice was still spreading with the spikes and at the center. Ice crawled around the bleachers, seats, and floors, and if they weren't careful, up people too. So, while the heroes worked on wrangling the crowd, Izuku pried people's feet out of the ice before it could get any further, and whispered for them to do the same for others they saw. He glanced away from the boy he'd managed to free in the midst of all the knees and kicks they were receiving when he saw it. Someone slipped on the ice near one of the many holes in the barrier. They were going to fall. The heroes hadn't noticed him in the panic. It was like Izuku couldn't control his legs as he dashed forward, shoving some annoying little kid and a few adults out of the way. Izuku lunged forward, grabbing his wrist as he lost traction against the ledge. He was a little too late. It was almost ironic. It looked like he was taking that swan dive after all. That was the end of chapter 35 of So Keep On Going With Your Silly Dream by Piter on AO3. Thank you so much for listening. And if you liked this story, please go support the original author, link in the description below. Hope you have a great day.